Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Conversation 162020 and it says, me 21 female with my boyfriend 21 male of nearly 4 years. He's unhappy with my new sleep schedule and thinks it has made me boring. Sorry for the length and if this is a bit all over the place. I wasn't sure what information was relevant. Tom and I have been together since we were 17, and right now we live together with my dad. I've recently been trying to sort out my sleep schedule so that on the days when I work, it's easier for me to get out of bed and I can get up early enough to cycle to work. On weekdays, I normally get up at around 5, and if I'm working, I will leave at 6, and on my days off, I will go for a walk and do some exercise. In the evenings, I try to have a shower and get ready for bed around 9 PM, so I can get to bed by 9:30 PM. I enjoy doing this and it makes me feel more rested, more productive, and generally healthier. He is a night owl and doesn't go to bed until anywhere between 2:30 and 4 AM every night. This means he doesn't wake up until 10 AM at the earliest. His sleeping habits don't bother me, and while it would be nice to go to bed together, I'm happy with the way things are, especially as we both only work 2 or 3 days a week, so this leaves us with plenty of time to spend together during the week. If his sleeping pattern is working for him, that's all that matters. I don't think it's my place to try and change it. He, however, does have a habit of making me feel bad when I tell him I'm going to bed. We have a large room to ourselves and all our consoles, his computer, our TV, etc. are in our bedroom. I ask him to go upstairs. There's another TV and he keeps his laptop up there too, for half an hour while I try to sleep. And after I'm asleep, he can come back downstairs and game or do whatever as long as he leaves the main lights off and keeps the sound off. Normally when I ask him to do this, he will sulk, and last night he told me he doesn't think he can be with someone like this and that sleeping like this has made me incredibly boring. I would happily compromise with him and stay up later on the weekends to go out or stay in and spend time together. But he works Friday and Saturday nights until 12 or 1 AM. And actually, I do stay up that late anyway because he doesn't drive, and so I drop him to work and pick him up. Whenever we get back after his shift, he still asks me to stay up with him. Last weekend, I thought we reached a good solution for the nights he works. I said I would cook for him so when he came back, he didn't have to spend time making food, and we could watch an episode of a TV show before I go to bed. That's all I can do before I can't stay up any longer. He seemed happy with that solution, but we haven't tried it yet, so I don't know if that'll work. I don't know what to do. He seems really angry at me and I don't know why. I don't think it's asking for a lot for him to leave our room while I'm trying to sleep, and the only couple of days I'll be willing to stay up later, he's already working. I don't think this is something to break up over, because I feel that eventually we will both have jobs that are more similar hours, but I don't know what else I can do to make him happy with our current situation. Hold up a second here, you seem to be getting your life together with a healthy sleep schedule that's working for you. You seem to be accommodating his night owl lifestyle, which yeah, absolutely fine as well. You're driving him places, you're cooking him stuff, and he's calling you boring. Cheeky bastard. What is he actually contributing to this situation at all? And then he has the audacity to threaten your relationship because you're looking after yourself. I got a feeling the brother is about to shoot himself in the foot. But Oil Spill says, is he living with you at your dad's house for free? You said you drive him everywhere. Does he contribute anything to the situation, or does he just use you for basically everything and then complain about it? Opie says we both pay $50 a week each. The driving issue is something that really bothers me, and no matter how much I ask him to learn, he doesn't seem to care. Another commenter says, I know that driving wasn't the main issue you're looking for advice on, but seriously, if you're the one who has to drive him everywhere, it's not really his choice to not care. You should tell him straight up that you're willing to teach him as long as he's making strides towards learning how to drive and getting his license. You'll keep driving him to and from work until he can drive himself, but if he doesn't care and puts no effort into learning how to drive, you'll stop being his chauffeur. If he works that late, it sounds like he probably doesn't have another option. Unless you live in a big city, public transit usually doesn't run that late in my experience, and taking a taxi and Uber would be crazy expensive in the long run. Stop allowing him to be apathetic. Opie says, I've told him that before. I know it takes time to learn how to drive. Where we are, you need to log 100 hours before taking a practical exam. And to be honest, I was really slow to get my license. But his learner's permit expires in November, and he's nowhere near being done. Anyway, I tell him I won't drive him, but I can't really make him walk home that late in the evening. I feel too bad. Opie then edited the post and says, I talked to him this afternoon when he woke up, and he seemed to not want to fight about the sleeping thing anymore, so that's good, I guess. Regardless, this post got way more attention than I expected, and there's a few people who think he's taken advantage of me. He earns more than I do, so it's not like he's using me for money. And with regard to driving, he either goes with his stepdad who works odd hours or my dad, and we've just had a family death, so he feels bad asking my dad right now. Also, I think if I flat out refuse to drive him to work, he will start saying he never wanted a manual car, and that's why it's taken him so long to learn. Anyway, we both need to grow up. I've tried talking to him previously about his goals and future plans, but he never really has anything to say. Any tips for talking to him about this? I worry he'll start thinking of me as some kind of killjoy nagging girlfriend if I push too hard. I don't know. So it was 2.5 years later that OP came in with their update and said, so my original post is years old now. And I wouldn't say it was that popular, but I was looking at my post history and I can't believe I posted that. It seems like a lifetime ago. I was completely oblivious to all the problems in our relationship, and I refused to leave Tom even though it was very clearly the right thing to do. I broke up with him maybe 6 months after I posted, but we got back together even though I was moving to another country to teach English for a few months. While I was away, he hardly ever spoke to me, never asked me how I was, and grew increasingly disrespectful to me. I came back home early because I felt bad leaving him for so long. We had plans to move overseas together, but he was getting cold feet saying he didn't want to leave his best friend. I broke up with him again and decided to move overseas by myself. It was terrifying to be alone after being with Tom for so long, but it was 100% the right decision. Turns out he had started sleeping with his best friend while I was overseas teaching English. Also turns out I'm a lesbian, so there's that. Tom still lives at my dad's place and works the same job. I bought my first flat and I'm having a wonderful time living overseas and being truly independent. I've grown so much in the last few years and done things I could never imagine doing while I was stuck in a dead-end relationship. I know that being alone is so much better than being with someone who doesn't love you. Commenter says to OP, so proud of you. All of that plus moving to a different country. It's really great, and I hope you're much happier now. OP says thanks so much. It was scary at first to be alone and really daunting to move countries by myself, when that was something we'd always planned together. But I feel immeasurably happier now. Take number 2 says congrats. Don't you think it's a bit odd that he still lives with your dad? OP says thanks. It's definitely a bit weird. Things ended really badly between me and him, and I asked my dad to get Tom to move out, but he wouldn't do it. He does pay more rent now, so I guess my dad doesn't want to give that up. It was disappointing at the time that my dad didn't stick up for me, I guess, but I'm over that now. I'm just happy to be living my life for me now. Commenter replies saying, good for you. It's weird on Tom's part that he would even want to live there. If someone broke up with me, it would kill me to live in their parents' house when we used to live together. It sounds like you have a lot more going for you than he does. OP replies one more time and says, yeah, it's very strange. When we broke up at first, it was really amicable, and I said we could both continue to stay there since I was moving away, and I thought it was kind to give him time to find a new place and all that. But things turned to shit after I found out he was sleeping with his best friend while we were together. I moved into my mum's place because I couldn't stand to be around him, but he just stayed at my dad's the whole time. He even said he felt so bad about hurting me. Not bad enough to move out though. I probably sound quite bitter about it still, but it doesn't cross my mind that often. It would just be nice to understand why he thinks it's a normal thing to do. Absolutely good on OP in this situation. Sounds like she's just living her life the way she wants now. The dad choosing the rental income over supporting you is really annoying and disappointing. But OP's just like, fuck it. That's his problem now. Absolutely. The amount of experience OP's got in, it said a couple of years, but a relatively short amount of time, their own flat, moving countries, teaching English, discovering herself. Absolutely amazing. But what do you guys make of this situation? What do you think about the dad still housing him after all that and him wanting to stay in the dad's house? or wild? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Thick Stuff 8638, and it says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my ex-husband he can't stay with me? Am I the arsehole? My ex-husband wants to come see the kids, and I told him no problem, that would be cool. Context, he lives in another state now. He says he wants to stay 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, the kids would love that. But here's where he feels I became the arsehole. He then proceeded to tell me that he's going to stay with me. And I told him, no, you're not. You can get a hotel because you're not staying at my house. Then he says, so you want me to pay to come out there, pay for a hotel, spend money while I'm out there just to see the kids? I said yes. I then told him if he can't afford it, then he can stay a weekend, and then a hotel wouldn't be that expensive. But he's not staying with me, so now I'm keeping him away from his kids because I won't let him stay with me and feed him every night while he's here. So am I the arsehole for not letting him stay?" Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation at all. You have no obligation to him. He's your ex for a reason, and the keeping him from his kids is just manipulative bullshit. You literally said he could visit. You just won't be his free hotel and cooking for him and all that sort of stuff. The absolute cheeky bastard. There's a huge difference between being amicable for the children and then housing him and feeding him for free while he stays at your place. Every time I cover stories like this, I try to get into the shoes of the people that's talking, like the ex-husband in this, and think, at what point does that go through his head? And you think, that's a fucking good idea to say, I'm coming round yours, I'm going to stay in your house. And the whole attitude behind it as well is just infuriating. You know, he could have approached her and said, oh, I'm really sorry, is there any way that I could stay with you? You know, I'll pay you, or I'll get food in every night, or something, you know, not, oh, you're keeping me away from my kids. Dopey sod. Commenter says to OP, all you needed was the title. No, you're not the arsehole for not wanting your ex-husband to stay at your place. The fact that he tells you that he's going to pretty much tells me why he's an ex. Commenter says, no. He's insane. He can get an Airbnb like a normal father. Why would he even want to stay with you? Oh, because he's cheap, he's nosy, he wants you to cater to him. And he wants to snoop. You're 100% correct in not letting him stay. What an invasion of privacy. He can fuck off. If he wants to see his kids, he will figure it out. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. Your ex needs to check out campgrounds where he can treat the kids to some fun. I doubt his mere presence at your house for 2 weeks would be a treat for anybody. Tell him nope on room and board at your place and don't waffle. Commenter says, not the arsehole. He doesn't have a right to stay in your house just because he's coming to see the kids. It's reasonable to ask him to book a hotel, especially since you're not obligated to host him. Boundaries are healthy. So OP comes back in with an update and says, okay, let me put some more context to the story. Because some people seem to think that he pays child support and alimony and that's why he doesn't have money. That's not true. He does not take care of his kids. He has not physically seen his kids since my son was 6 months, and he's never seen my daughter in person. Is ordered to pay child support, but does not, so everything I do for the kids comes from me, and I've given him several suggestions. I've even suggested that I take the kids to him, and I'll get the hotel, and he can come pick up the kids, and they can spend the day together. Whatever now, he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't have a stable place to live. That's his excuse. I offered to pay for the kids' activities, whatever they wanted to do, when he came out here, and no. I was not going to be there with them, and that way he can pay for the hotel. He said no, the only way he's going to come out here is if I let him stay at my house, and that I was stopping him from seeing his kids, and I told him, well, take me to court. Because nowhere in our court document does it say I'm supposed to support him to see the kids. Matter of fact, it says because he's not moved, that's his responsibility to get the kids, or for me to pay half. I would let him stay, but I know him, and that 2 weeks is going to turn into more, and then it's going to be he just doesn't want to leave his kids. He just wants to stay with me until he gets on his feet. Which is the main reason I'm saying no. I would never keep my kids from him. I never talk bad about him. The kids love him, and every time he tells them he's going to show up, he doesn't, and somehow it always becomes my fault. The first commenter says, general comment. For the sake of children's well-being, parents need to get the fuck over themselves and focus solely on helping the children heal and have a good and decent role models so the kids can develop, break the cycle, and thrive as adults. Unfortunately, parents and adults play games, try to make each other fail so they can win. Does he have the money? Do you really want him to see the kids? Did you tell the kids all of this? If not, what parts did you exclude? Do you want him to fail / not come to see the kids so you can make him look bad / demean him to the kids so the kids won't ever want to have anything to do with him? We see it a lot where parents are so angry with each other that they will do or say anything to make the other one look bad and alienate the kids from the parent. All the games parents play cause children to be maladjusted, have mental health issues, and end up perpetuating the cycle. Hope you reply saying I really don't know if he has the money or not. Yes, I've been trying to make arrangements for him to see the kids for years. When he does pay child support, I make sure that the kids know the money came from daddy. I never talk bad about him, nor do I let anyone else talk bad about him. I don't have a lot of extra money, but I will make it happen for my kids, and I even told him that I would tell them it's from daddy. But it's his way or no way, and I've been through a lot with him, and a lot of bad, and when I say it took a lot of counseling to get me where I am, I protect my peace. Commodore says your kids don't know him. How on earth do they love him? Opie says they know who he is. He's what I call a FaceTime dad. He calls them and talks to them, and they know he's their dad. Commodore says, quoting he doesn't have a stable place to live, and says, as I said before, he won't leave. He's a homosexual and is using his children as leverage to get in your house. Your kids don't love someone they haven't met. They deserve better. Get real with yourself. Another commenter says, document everything. You're doing this correctly. He's using his alimony and child support as an excuse to not be a dad. That's on him, not you. Keep your boundaries firm and document everything. And another commenter says it's not love for him, it's hope for a dad. He keeps taking that hope and stomping on it, and that's the real damage he's doing to those kids. At this point, I think I would just seriously stop entertaining this buffoon. Like some of the commenters were saying and hinting at, what he's doing now is damaging the children at the same time. Keep dipping in and out, weaponizing them against OP, saying, you're keeping me away from the kids, when he's the one who's doing nothing. And I don't know if these are in all situations, but I hear people in stories like this when they talk about custody and they talk about like a parenting app of some sort where the messages get sent back and forth through that as like a record. I would seriously consider something like that if it's possible. Again, I know that's in only certain places. I have no experience with this whatsoever, but document everything going forward because his whole attitude in this is just wild. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from C Needleworker 161, and it says, am I the arsehole for refusing to make amends after my ex-best friend reached out to me? The other night I got an Insta message confused, and I thought it might have been a mistake. Turns out it was my ex-best friend from high school, someone I hadn't seen or spoken to in years. She was hoping to meet up and talk about catching up. Hannah, we went to kindergarten together, and we're friends on and off throughout our school years. Our mums were friends, which made it easier. I thought she was my person. At least until the summer before senior year, and my mum got sick. She got real sick and passed away from it pretty quickly. Entering senior year, I was in a very dark place. Hannah was my rock, her and my other friends at the same time. I was starting to feel better about myself when prom rolled around. I asked if we could go as friends. It felt right, and things were really starting to feel okay again. Until she ditched me at prom. I guess her and a couple of our other friends had agreed to a slumber party without me. I felt so embarrassed. No goodbye, no sorry we left you at the prom by yourself. It was even worse when I had to call my older sister to give me a ride home. I can still see her disappointment. Even worse, the principal walked me to the car because I'd asked him to check if my friends had left prom. When I asked Hannah for an explanation at school, all she could say was she was tired. You become toxic with your sadness. Every day you cry and whine about missing her. I loved your mum too, but you make it so hard to be around you. Honestly, I couldn't breathe after that. How does a kid respond to that? I ended high school with no friends, and it wasn't made easier that she never told her mum. Graduation day, Hannah's mum gave me flowers and thanked me for being her daughter's friend. I told her the truth about prom and walked away before I began to cry. I left those things behind me, and now she has the audacity almost 10 years later to try and patch things up. I can't. At least, I don't think I can. We spent so much of my childhood being together that I just don't know. She looks like she's done well for herself, so maybe she's changed, but I was really hurt and I don't think I recovered from it. This turned into a really long vent post. Sorry. Look, personally, I wouldn't be able to look past that the way that she spoke to you in that moment. And I personally couldn't see a friendship being built off this. The question for me, and I always find it's a very personal one because, like, for myself, I'm a nosy bastard. I like getting information. Is whether you actually want to talk to her in the first place, whether you want to hear her out, whether you want some kind of closure or something along those lines. If you don't, absolutely fair play to you. Just say, no thank you, I'd rather not talk to you. As brutal or not brutal as you like. But if you do want to hear it out, and you don't think it'd damage you in any way further, then you go for it. But again, as I said, I think that's a very personal thing on how you feel on either side about that. Because I imagine a lot of people would just look at that and say, you know, it's pointless meeting up. But commenter says not the arsehole. She abandoned you when you needed her the most and said cruel stuff that stuck with you for years. You don't owe her closure or a reunion. If reconnecting hurts more than it helps, you have every right to keep that door closed. Opie says, think the only reason I would ever want to talk to her again is to see if her mum is okay. Hannah's mum had a stroke roughly a year ago and hasn't gotten much better, or so I'd heard. Professional says, not the arsehole. Doesn't sound like the message was an apology. Unless the message was a complete apology showing self-reflection and with no obligation on you to give her closure, don't open the door to your heart. She'll hurt you again. Opie says it was a short hello, a gift from friends of Joey saying, how you doing? And would I be up for a meet-up for lunch to talk? You can see now why this surprised me out of nowhere. And then Opie answered on what happened to the friend group from high school. Opie says, as far as I know, our original friend group broke up after high school because they all felt conflicted regarding everything that happened our senior year. I had some friends that agreed that my grief was valid, however majority of them agreed with her. So, OP came in with her update and says, I made a post about a week ago regarding an old best friend, Hannah, trying to make contact with me. We were close growing up in school together, but after losing my mum at 17, we had issues. I was apparently too much to deal with because my grief was toxic and I would cry too much for anything. The post was removed, but I was hoping to still give an update since people had given feedback on how to approach the situation. Hannah messaged me Friday again, asking if we can meet up at the mall food court on Saturday since we used to hang out there all the time. I thought I had to go to the mall on the weekend anyway to pick up an order. I might as well hear her out. Of all the hypothetical scenarios that my anxiety and stress had popped into my head, I didn't expect her to actually be there. Worst of all, with Christy, another one of my friends from school that was cold to me after my mum's passing. I hesitated to even approach the table once I saw them together. They were older, which makes sense. It's been years since high school and we were all adults. I gave myself a hypothetical 30 minutes. Only 30 minutes, and I never have to see their faces again. I approached the table. We sat down and talked. Hannah talked, and she talked a lot. Apparently, our old high school teacher who ran the club that we were all in together wanted to do a reunion with us. She apparently couldn't get in contact with all of us and was curious if Hannah wouldn't mind getting my info. Christy mentioned that I was the only one that she couldn't get in contact with. That's it. I anticipated some kind of catharsis to come, but all I felt was rage. What else is there? I broke. I mentioned what happened after my mum. I mentioned how lonely I felt after being ignored and called annoying for grieving. I mentioned how it took me so long to trust again after the people I considered friends just left me. That I would come home to an empty house after school instead of my mum cooking dinner or talking to me. Both Hannah and Christy were quiet while I stood there at the point of tears. I can't even remember standing up. I felt childish crying, but seriously. You sent me a message wanting to meet up to talk to make amends. Just to tell me you're only doing this because a random teacher who we sat in the classroom with for 30 minutes every Friday told you. I composed myself. I wasn't about to have a mental breakdown in the middle of a damn food court. I needed you then, and I don't need this now. Hannah shut down. I could tell my words had done something to her. Christy just got mad. She reprimanded Hannah and said there was no point in finding me, and this proved it. Christy chalked up everything that happened in school to kids being kids, that it was past. Okay. Grabbed my things lightly and excused myself and left. I cried once I made it back to my car. They have changed, but it's clear that they haven't changed how they felt about how they treated me. Never once did they say sorry. They clearly expected me to just get over it. Again, sorry for the long post, but I hope putting this out there will give me the clarity I needed. Thank you for listening. Commenter says to OP, you should reach out to the teacher to tell them what happened back then and now. then tell them that's why you won't attend. Opie says the club teacher, Mrs. Diaz, was actually aware of the situation at the time. I've been telling her and actually had been attending club only for club events and never club activities. She accommodated for me. She was actually really understanding of how I felt at the time, and I would like to get back to her to express my appreciation for her. When OP said that they was going to meet, I was really hoping that was going to be some realization from them that, you know, especially after her own mum is not very well, that she had a realization that how cruel they were to her when she was grieving at that moment. But still, after all this time, they still see no wrong in it. Kids being kids. Absolute bullshit. And quite frankly, I like the way Opie handled it. Gave them a chance, kept it brief, and when they showed you they're still the same people, you just walked away. There was a small part of it where Hannah shut down when she was confronted. It almost suggested that she knows how messed up it was. And sometimes, like we see in these situations, sometimes closure isn't getting an apology. It's realizing you've just outgrown these people. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.